Now spokesperson for the President of South Sudan, Mr. Ateny Wek Ateny. Could you come and speak to us? I'll give you about 5 minutes to put a few things into context.
Honorable Ukelo Oriam, State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Republic of Uganda. Honorable Dr. Richard K. Mula, Minister for Federal Affairs, the Republic of South Sudan. All the other protocols are respectfully observed. First of all, I would like to thank the court for having used their discretion, especially the executive director, to actually invite me and give me, some minutes to just say something about South Sudan. And in fact, I'm thankful to those who organized this, because it shows to us that our brothers and sisters within the close border of South Sudan are thinking about us. This is a great job. I want to commend that. I also want to just throw a bit, a simple blame to the court, because on introducing the Minister of Federal Affairs, instead of introducing him as the representative of TIGONO, which is the Transitional Government of National Unity, he was introduced as the representative of the SPLM, SPLA-IO, when in actual fact, the other SPLM was not invited. The other minister, which should be the minister of the TIGONO, representing the SPLM, should also have been invited and so given a forum to speak. That's something I want to tell you, so that you take it on the note. Next time, please, if you are inviting SPLM-IO, also invite SPLM. To be brief and short, South Sudan is a victim of misconception and misdiagnosis of what is thought to be the case in South Sudan. Even those who are supposed to know South Sudan better, I don't know what's wrong with them. When they are speaking, they turn out not to know South Sudan, not to know the root causes of what caused the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. Even a very simple thing, like the incident that happened on the 8th of July 2016, which culminated into Dr. Riak leaving the capital city of Juba, is also even Dr. Richard K. Mula has even forgotten to relay it better. I was an eyewitness because I was in the State House when the State House was attacked. And if I want to tell you briefly how did it happen. On that day, the 8th of July, President Salva Kiir asked me to call all the media in the country, because after meeting with the first vice president and the vice president, he would be giving a speech to the nation, for the 5th anniversary of the independence that would take place on the 9th of July. It shows that the intention was good, because any president that who wanted to fight, that can call all the media in the country so that they are all up in the same place where he will be fighting. So I called all the media houses, including those affiliated to Uganda. I called them that day. They were in the press room when President Salva Kiir, the first vice president, the former first vice president Riek Machar, and Vice President James Waniga were actually meeting. And I was there. Dr. Riek that day came with 20 armed vehicles. as a bodyguards. You will later on tell me if President Museveni has more than even 3 or 4 trucks. If he's going anywhere, then the UDP, yes. I want to tell you, and then your common sense will judge it. He came with 20 trucks, which one truck, each of the truck has about 22 men. And also Dr. Riek Machar introduced something very strange, that, you know, for me to see for the first time that the VIPs are guided with RPG. RPG is called rocket propelled grenade. Rocket propelled grenade is an explosive. How can you take the explosive guiding, you know, to guard your VIP? So they came with more than 30 RPG that day, particularly, and 400 men on the trucks. It's nearly to a battalion. I know if there is anybody who is a soldier here will tell us exactly what kind of human being that can be guided with 400 people, if there was no intention to take over power in Juba. When he came, he was also armed with a pistol. He has a pistol loaded with 16 bullets, and he was having it. And you know, the BIP are not checked. If President Museveni is meeting his vice president, there's no need for his vice president to be checked or see whether he's armed or not. This is an extraordinary situation that happened. So Dr. Riek had a gun that day to connect this to the event. So when fighting happened, they were still meeting, the 3 of them, but because they're meeting in a presidential lounge, which is open and have very large windows like this, President Salva Kiir saw it necessary to withdraw these men and take them to a room that will actually be a little bit protected, or a little bit, you know, they cannot be victim of a straight bullet. They went inside. When I came, because I did not know how did this fighting started, because I know there's nobody that can be foolish to fight while his BIP is inside. So I was walking, and all the officials were actually, you know, sleeping on the floor. I wanted to see whether the president was harmed or was there. When I came to the office of the president where they were meeting, I found Dr. Riek was sitting to the left instead of to the right, breaking all the protocol. Okay? The reason for him was to sit, because if he was to sit on the right, which is the right protocol, he would be, you know, turning his back to the window, and he would not be seeing what is happening outside. So he decided to sit on the left, while James Waniga sat on the right. So when I came, I break their silence. They were not talking. There was a lot of heavy, you know, guns around. If there is any gun in Juba, it was fired that day in the State House. So they were not talking, but I asked them, why did you, you know, break the protocol? You should die even in the protocol if anything goes worse. And then President said, it's not me, it's Riek who have chosen to stay on the left. But I said, can you adjust this? Dr. Riek said, no, just leave me here. I went out, and immediately the Minister of National Security, General Oboto Mahmoud, entered in and disarmed Riek Machar that moment. Because I did not know, how did he know that Riek was armed? The fighting went on until the forces of Riek Machar were thwarted completely on that day. When they were thwarted, President Salva Kiir made sure that he protects Riek Machar so that he is not harmed. I want people to understand, and also whenever you talk, because if you have not understood the root cause of any problem, you cannot even prescribe to any medications. If you wanted to say that so and so is having malaria, when you are in actual fact you have not diagnosed the real disease. So President Salva Kiir made sure that he gets an armored vehicle so that Dr. Riek is taken to his base. He left only with about seven bodyguards who were inside the palace, and those who were outside were all taken off because they triggered the fighting. And by the way, Dr. Richard Kwemolo will note this. The SPLM-IO soldiers that were brought to protect Riek Machar, 70% of them were foreigners. They are Ethiopians, Ethiopian Nuer. It is one thing to be South Sudanese, and it is another to be Nuer. My friend here in the Embassy of the Republic of South Sudan is a Nuer by tribe. You will see him, he's sitting here in between. He's a Nuer by tribe. He's in the Embassy of the Republic of South Sudan, one of the officials. But he can tell you that it's not all Nuer that are South Sudanese. There are Nuer who are Ethiopians, from Gambela, called Gaja, Gajo, and you name them. If you are a citizen by birth of any country, unless you are given dual citizenship in another country, if you take arms and go to another country, you are a mercenary. So the mercenaries were brought to Juba to guard Riek Machar. And they are the one who triggered fight because they don't even understand the culture of South Sudan. South Sudan has chances to be peaceful, but because of this wrong misconception, of the misconception that Riek Machar should be protected, and that even when the minister was actually talking about the intervention force or protection force, is protection to protect who? People of South Sudan or one single person, Riek Machar? We should distinguish between Riek Machar and the people of South Sudan. Riek Machar is not South Sudanese. He's not all South Sudanese citizens. He's one single South Sudanese. So it cannot be given a force of 3,000 to protect him, when in actual fact we have already 12,000 UNIMIS soldiers in the country. If there is any mandate that should be given to them to do inside South Sudan, they should be doing it instead of more forces. Because as you see, the economist was actually giving the indicators here, the economic indicators. They have missed something. They have talked about the Ugandans in Juba, but Ugandans are in every village in South Sudan. Even in my home, you don't know, you have never heard. It's called Malengalel. You have never heard it. In northern part of Awil. Okay? It's a very small village, and there are 180 Ugandans. You don't even count them. Ugandans are in any village in South Sudan, but you are only concentrating on those who are in Juba, and they are living peaceful, by the way. People of South Sudan are very peaceful, and you take it on the notes. They are only a victim of misconception. Last time we said in Addis Ababa that we shouldn't allow two armies to prevail, because if there are two armies, then there will be problems. We said this. The regional force, the regional mediators, the IGAD, did not take this. We told them that it is better to have them amalgamated within 3 months in a free interim. They refused. They did not allow this. The agreement was written and then brought to us. Either we leave it or we take it. We have taken it, but now the results are coming out. Please don't rush again to another, miscalculated scenario when you wanted to bring other forces, and you will put South Sudan in a disaster. Those forces are there in Somalia. Those, IGAD forces are in Congo, and they are in Central African Republic. They did not bring peace. If you people wanted to, I wanted to conclude, if you people wanted to help South Sudan, the best way to help South Sudan is to ask South Sudanese, what is your problems? Let them tell you what is their problem. Because a doctor cannot just prescribe before they take person and diagnose what is in his or her body. If you people wanted to help us, and I want to agree with the Lazarus Sambayo, the one who negotiated the peace between South Sudanese and Khartoum, which has later on culminated into the independence of South Sudan. He said on interview last week on KTN2 that the regional organization called IGAD and international community has misconceived the problem in Sudan. This is Lazarus Sambayo. That can be found. He said even the chiefs in South Sudan would solve this problem instead of us getting in to aggravate the situation. People, when you see the reporters, they are talking about the Dinka are fighting Nuer, as if the Dinka are all in government and the Nuer are all in rebels. Dr. Richard K. Muller is not a Nuer. He's in the rebel movement. That the former rebel movement that has come now to sign peace agreement, that is called SPLM-IO. And my brother here, is anywhere. He's in the embassy of Republic of South Sudan. Okay? Yes. And the MP, yes. Yes. So, up to now, 40% or more than 40% of the government army are still nowhere. Okay? When people talk about rape and all this, these are just made up in order to tarnish the image of the Republic of South Sudan. The people of South Sudan are very conservative. They don't rape anybody. When you see people talking about rape and rape who? Raping who and who has raped who? People need to check their information correctly. Because we don't do that, I want to say thank you very much for listening. I know I did not have time, but I want to say the people of Uganda and the people of South Sudan are the same people, by the way. Let us not talk about Ugandan and the South Sudanese, because, like Honorable said, is a fourth or a fifth generation of those who migrated from Republic of South Sudan to be in Uganda. There are also, okay, Ugandan who have now attained citizenship in South Sudan, dual citizenship. We have given them because we see them as our brothers and sisters. So please take South Sudan at your heart. Is your home, is your second home, but don't take it like an economic kind of thing that you want to benefit from it. We allow you people to benefit from South Sudan. All these crimes that are happening is simply because any Ugandan that comes to South Sudan, any Kenyan that comes out to South Sudan, we let them go there, even if they are criminal here. Even the bad criminal in this country, they have gone to South Sudan and they are causing havoc. Please.
Well, Ateny Wek is spokesperson of the President of South Sudan. So, you know what comes with that territory. Thank you very much. Can we give him a round of applause? We have about 24 minutes to end this discussion. And for that reason, I'm going to ask for the help of the Executive Director of ACORD, Dr. Beinomdisha, to support me to deal with the plenary session where we get comments from you, questions. Just two things. Keep it as civil as you can. Keep it brief. I know that we have an audience in here and an audience outside of here. I request Dr. Beinomdisha to stay where he is and use the microphone on the table. I'll stand here and continue to give him support.
Thank you very much. A round of applause again to our panelists. Now it is the opportunity for others to make contributions, and why I want to support my brother is to try to use the conflict resolution skills to get out the best of you. But just to clarify what the spokesperson has just said. Okay, let me take this, the podium, to beef up my size. Yeah, no, you know, a conflict is part and parcel of human life. Even within you, there are two people struggling. So now if you put so many people together, actually we have a massive conflict going on. But you know, even talking and listening to the gentleman here, some of you are convinced you must even have taken sides and that kind of thing. I imagine, and I won't take chances. But to reassure Mr. Ateny is that we invited the government. Actually, we sent a letter to the President, His Excellency Salva Kiir, and we also sent a letter to the first Vice President, General Tabandeng Guy, and they met. But he can confirm he's actually not here representing IO, but actually the government, because His Excellency blessed this delegation, and so they will speak on behalf of South Sudan. But we know that they are still what? Yeah, that is on paper. So I'm just trying to clarify that we wrote to all of them, and actually that's why we are very happy that when I saw that you are coming, I knew that you are coming. Then I knew that we'll beef up the team to get to the bottom of the matter. And we are not here to win the argument. We are not here to win the argument, but to understand have a deep understanding, because in conflict resolution, you must first understand the conflict to be able to prescribe. And I think, thank you very much, we have been able to understand, and the minister here has also taken us to the core. And thank you, Honorable Minister, for speaking from the heart. I was moved. I shed a tear myself. Yeah, I did. For 2 years I've been involved. You can imagine I have been involved in the peace process. But now it's an opportunity for you. But in our midst, we have Mr. Abraham Awik. I wanted to give you, start with you, because he represents an institute, but has also some relationship with the council, the Dinka Council of Elders, to give us a synopsis just in 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Do we have the microphone? Does anybody have the microphone? Just 5 minutes and then we'll move. And if it cannot, then you can come here.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Arthur, for giving me the opportunity. I'm going to make comments as an independent policy analyst. And what I can say is that this opportunity to discuss South Sudan is important. And it is important also to highlight what the state of affairs at the moment in the country. What I can say to the gathering here is that there was fighting 3 weeks ago in South Sudan, and that it scared the whole world and the whole region. And also it scared the people of South Sudan, that there is a possibility that we could go back to war. But there are a number of new opportunities that have arisen out of this crisis. And I'm a bit surprised that both Dr. K. Muller and Honorable Ateny are still talking as if they are two different teams. They are actually one. Okay? They are actually one. There is a new spirit in the country. When Gerald Taban was appointed as the first vice president, I think this opportunity has to be seized upon and built. And I think if it is done so by the region and the rest of the world, there is a possibility that the peace agreement that was signed in August last year could be saved. Now, the big question, of course, which is very relevant, is what do you do with Dr. Riek Machar? His position has been taken. And obviously, he is somebody that has to be factored into the equation. But I think the best thing the region can do, I think the people of South Sudan are ready to move on with the peace process with or without Dr. Riek Machar. So, perhaps the region should start talking about what do we do with Riek Machar and not what do we do with South Sudan. Because South Sudan has decided to move on with the peace process. And there are two partners that seem to like each other and they seem to want to move the country forward. I think this opportunity should be seized upon. And the question of whether it is important for the region to rush in the military there to try to save the situation, I think that will complicate the matters. Why don't the region take the government for its words to prove that they can actually protect civilians and that they can actually sustain peace? The question is, how best can that be done? So I think this is what I can say, that there is a new opportunity in South Sudan, and the region should look at that. We should not really take time to highlight all the bad things that could possibly happen in South Sudan. Maybe it is time to step back and highlight the possible good things that could happen.
Thank you,
in
my
South
brother.
Sudan. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, my brother. And I think that is extremely useful. And we have a rapporteurs here. I hope they have captured those comments. So let me open it up. Move us towards peace. Don't move us towards war. Thank you very much. I start with the chairman Mao. I think he was the first here. Then we'll come to this side.
Thank you very much. It is said that truth is the first casualty of war. I don't think we are getting the whole truth. Obviously, the spokesman of President Salva Kiir has painted a different picture than what we see on TV screens, unless those are manufactured. There are always disputes concerning political issues. In the year 2000, after the Tanzanian elections, I was part of a parliamentary delegation that went to Zanzibar to talk peace as a form of, in the form of parliamentary diplomacy. The Tanzanian government had used aircraft gunships, helicopter gunships, and a lot of Tanzanians were refugees in a place called Shimoni near Mombasa. But the way the Tanzanian government officials we met talked is totally different from the way the government represented by the spokesman of President Salva Kiir speaks. When we met the top leaders of Tanzania, they all said, this thing is an embarrassment to us. We are totally ashamed of what has happened, and we want it to end. This is not what I hear. If you want to take my advice to President Salva Kiir, tell him to express remorse for what is happening. We don't need to lose one life. It is not necessary for you to come here and talk as if anybody has any interest in tarnishing the image of South Sudan. You have done enough to tarnish the image of your own government. You don't need any help from anybody to tarnish the image. So, we don't want to oversimplify. I accept your advice that we should not oversimplify the complex problem of South Sudan, and we should not intervene from a point of ignorance. The truth of the matter is that now the conflict is escalating. This is not unique to South Sudan. Even when the Irish Republican Army was battling the British, the Irish Republican Army split. There was one called the IRA, then the real IRA. This is what I see now with the SPLM in opposition. You now have, I hear, SPLM in the bush also. There is SPLM that is in power, led by President Kiir. SPLM in opposition that is being co-opted now in the government. And from the speech of Honorable Dr. Richard Muller, he sounds like a prisoner of war. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry to speak like this, but you can prove me wrong. The way you are talking like you were helpless. The only way was to disown the boss of your movement and say South Sudan has moved on. South Sudan cannot move on if there are still some people there who are plotting to cause violence for whatever reason. I want to ask you a question now. What do you think is the real interest of Dr. Riek Machar? And what difference is there between his interests and now the interests that you are serving? Is he now irrelevant in this peace process? I think that will help us immensely.
Thank you very much.
As Ugandans, historically we are duty bound to stand on the side of South Sudan. There is no government in Uganda that will ever not intervene, whether it is led by Museveni, whether it is led by Mao, whether it is led by who. The truth of the matter is that from the moment that the radical people took over government in Khartoum, especially after the death of Abdel Nasser, who was a Pan-Africanist. The South Sudanese people had to stand up on their own to resist that forced Arabization. And led by Julius Nyerere, Uganda had to naturally be on the front line to stand with the people of South Sudan. So we are there, and we even don't need to be invited, because your problem flows up to our borders anyway. So we can come to Sudan to check what is happening. Why are your people running? So we ask you to accept this regional approach. It is much better. It is you are part of East African community now. You should not infect East African community with these problems. It is very important.
Thank you.
Because the people of South Sudan are also under the UN Declaration on the Right to Protect. If you armed people in South Sudan are killing people who are unarmed, who do you think is going to look out for them? This is not a forum for propaganda. This is really about problem solving. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mao. Chairman Mao has been brutally honest, but this is how you cure the wound. Sometimes you clean it with salt, it bleeds, but after the bleeding, the thing begins to cure. So the views he has expressed are his, and this platform actually, what we discuss here, this is a qualified privilege. We are supposed to be honest. But he has also added his, and it is being captured, and I hope it makes sense. We'll give a chance to the table to respond very quickly. Let me take just one here, and 1 minute, my brother, and I will cross. This side is very anxious. Mr. Tweheyo, where did the Chairman Mao put the point?
Thank you. Chairman Mao brought much out, but there are unanswered questions which we think our colleagues can answer for us. Dr. Mura said he doesn't know the whereabouts of Riek Machar, yet he says Riek disputes the appointment of General Taban. If he is not aware of the whereabouts, then how did he get this information of Machar disputing the appointment of Taban? But that's not mentioned. I would like to know from him. He was part of the delegation, I believe, of Riek Machar at the time he was coming to State House to have that meeting. Why, in your view, do you think he came with that big security team? Secondly, when the conflict ensued, you were one of those who were affected in a hotel. Do you think that one corroborates with the fear Machar could have had, which led him to bring that powerful army team? Thirdly, if the team was so big to the level of a battalion, do you think it could have been easily subdued without earlier preparations by the sitting government to fight this battalion, which was already within State House?
A question taken. Let's cross this side. I want a lady. Yeah, I will start with the Kampala RCC. Aisha, just, yeah.
Thank you very much. Aisha Kawan is my name. I want to say that the persons that spoke to us this morning left us without understanding the cause of the conflict. My minister so much lamented about the conflict. The Honorable Richard Muller, the Minister for Federal Government, started speaking about the conflict with the effect from 7th July. And then the spokesperson of the government speaks starting on the 8th of July, without telling us the issues behind the events on the 7th and the 8th. And until we get to know the real cause of those events, we shall not be able to solve the problem. And also, dismissing now Riek Machar, I don't think it's going to be the solution. Unless Southern Sudan has convinced herself that Riek Machar was not a major player. But as long as he was a major player, and he still is, we cannot simply dismiss him and appoint another person and you think you are heading to peace. I want to think that General turban is a mere, and please forgive me for this, is a mere cosmetic of the time that is simply cementing the relationship as if it's a good relationship to carry on. And that one could only buy us time into finding the real problems. I want to thank Chairman Mao for the question. What are the key interests of these people? Until we get to know the key interests and serve those interests, peace will still be far away from Southern Sudan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aisha, for raising the voice of the women. In any case, women and children are the greatest victims of any war. So we want to amplify the voices of the women. I'll take the Mr. Pambaza Hashaka and then Fred and then go behind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
1 minute, my
Yes,
brothers.
I grew up in Kamocha, and we grew up with very many Sudanese who went back when the liberation took place. But it's surprising that they have all come back, which is a sign that there is a problem in Southern Sudan. Last week, I was in Kabong, about 140 kilometers from where I work in Abim, and there is a crisis because Mr. Ateny says there is no problem, but there is a problem. People are running away, people are talking of rape and so on and so forth. So something needs to be done. Then lastly, I think it is a very big shame that we are having the youngest nation behave like, I think I should try to be a bit diplomatic. But I think it is a big shame what we are seeing in Southern Sudan. And you really need to clean up your house. Like Honorable Mao has said, I think we really need to intervene. We should not look on waiting for people to kill each other, even kill our own people. Let's intervene and put the house in Southern Sudan to order. Thank you.
Thank you very much, but you have to know that there is international law. It's a sovereign state. So when Ugandans are talking, yeah, but you should also be mindful that it's a sovereign state. Yes, Mr. Ramin.
Thank you so much. My name is Bamino, the resident district commissioner, Butambara. Now, the first one goes to Honorable Riem. Although the war has happened, as a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ugandans have been terribly attacked, killed, abused in South Sudan, even before the war. And I have not heard the ministry coming out. Even some people were even denied to be paid their due supplies to the government of South Sudan. And it seems the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I don't know if it comes only during the war or they are not aware. I would like to know how you have been coming out to help Ugandans who have been suffering. Second question is...
That's the last one. Make it quicker.
You mentioned about integration of the armies. I think, of course, it is very dangerous for the country to have two armies. I don't know where the command comes from, who is the commander-in-chief. But my observation, that should have been one of the key issues that have been handled even before any process of the agreement would have been handled. Lastly, what are we addressing now in terms of integrating the two armies? How quick are you addressing it? Because when you mentioned it's as if Riak, you have forgotten about him. But don't you think whoever he is, he's also being guarded? Don't you think he has also his royalists? What efforts are you putting in place to make sure that you bring him back, even the forces he may have? I'm sure he has forces, are also part of this process.
Thank you very much, Fred. The lady behind you, yeah, and then we'll come like this.
Thank you very much.
1 minute, my sister.
First of all, my name is Saida Bumba, chairperson of the Committee on National Economy, Parliament of Uganda. I have one simple question. Who is being insincere in achieving sustainable peace in Southern Sudan? Because the problem is insincerity. We are seeing cosmetics being displayed. People are not coming out with full commitment to the peace, to the much desired peace in Southern Sudan. Mr. Chairman, One of the speakers said that one of Uganda's main concern is economic. True, it is economic, because many of these companies, when people hear companies applying for bailout, they think it's because many of them have wasted money on luxurious cars and weddings. But there are quite a number of Ugandans who supplied goods to Southern Sudan about 9 years ago and have not been paid. And when such situations come, it has severe effects on the people of Uganda. Can we have sustainable peace in Southern Sudan? Is there a way we can assist? And speaking as a woman and a mother, we are really worried about the rape of the women and the young girls. What can be done to get peace in Southern Sudan to prevent these evils? I thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Kenneth Ruhogo. I'm a member of Parliament and chairperson of the Committee on Trade and Industry. Just two simple issues. Number one, I would think, in my own opinion, that an issue or tension has been building and had heightened to a certain level that probably, in my own opinion, could have been the reason that Dr. Riek Machar could have moved the way he moved, to go armed with a whole battalion. There is that something which is not being told to us, because I believe they have been meeting as leaders. Why, particularly at this time, did it happen? There must be an issue, a tension which has been building and had reached a certain height of explosion that we need to be probably informed about. But a question to the Minister of Federal Affairs: how united is SPLA in opposition at this time, considering that Dr. Riek Machar is somewhere else and we have General Tabante guy in the government, or collaborating with the government of President Kiir? How united is SPLA in opposition, and how do you think this situation can really bring us peace? Thank you.
Mine is about the gender aspect. Accord has organized Kandole Annette Balewa. We see even in this dialogue, we are looking at the economic cost. I wish next time we are called to look at the social cost of the war. If you look at the 50,000 refugees in the West Nile region, about 70% are women and children. You look at the delegation from the South Sudan, all of them are men, male dominated. Where are the women in this? And I think we need to seriously look at the social cost as well. When we monetize everything in our African culture, we lose the perspective of the society. And I really think that the situation, my organization is in the Rhino camp, and the situation of women and male and children is appalling. We can address those other issues even in Uganda of bailout, but let's look at the gender, the implication of the war on women. My second question is the sentiments that are coming from the regime. The statement like Sudan can move on with or without Machar is an unfortunate statement. Let's not look at the personalities, but the agenda. Even when General Taban has come on board, is he carrying the agenda, or is he going back to the drawing board of SPLM, or with different demands? And that is not coming out. And I think the opposition risks losing the intention and the demands if now they are divided and they are not looking at the agenda but the personalities. And I'm also disappointed that we don't know where he is. If you have been part of that person in the struggle and you really confess that you are not aware where he is, you are not talking, I think that itself strengthens the transitional government, not even to be responsive to the demands. And for those people in that, look at the demands, not the individuals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my sister. We have amplified so 1 minute. The voices of the women, I think, are coming out through, and the rapporteurs are taking those comments seriously. I'm coming to, let me finish that side. I'll come to the burning question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Somebody wrote a famous book many years ago,
yes, sir,
with a powerful title, What is Africa's Problem? I think that is relevant this morning. Part of the problem, I think Mr. Honorable Oriem spoke very well. And for me, I would propose that if government adopts your speech as an official government position, we shall go very far. I don't think you should have disowned it and said this is my personal, not official government position. We need to talk straight about Sudan's problem. I think part of the problem is that we are being too diplomatic about it. I like the way you spoke from your heart. I like the way Mr. Ateny Wek spoke. He spoke from his heart. Now, he might have been speaking from one side, but I believe that everybody must come out and just bear it all. Put the issues on the table. Don't put the table on the issues. In between, there is a middle line called the truth. If they speak their mind, this other side speaks their mind, and the other side speaks their mind. In between, we shall get the truth, and we shall know where the problem is, and we shall come up with a proper diagnosis. Lastly, King Solomon made a famous judicial decision between two women who were claiming a child who was alive. And he said, give me a sword, we cut in two, each one takes half. And the one woman who had no interest said, no, let us cut the thing in half. And the mother of the child said, you know what? Let her have the child, it's okay. She could not bear to see her child like that. For me, I believe that King Solomon's wisdom and the heart of that mother who owned the child needs to come at this time. Because if everybody keeps insisting, I want a share of Sudan, South Sudan as it is, we shall never end this charade. We shall need to see people coming and say, you know what? If it means giving up my own interests to see that Sudan moves forward, let us do that. South Sudan, I mean. And until that is done, I really fear the worst. But let us support Sudan, South Sudan. They are part of us, and we should stand with them in every way possible. Asanteni.
Basically, you are talking about statesmanship very much when people can commit and provide their interest for the greater interest.
Thank you. My name is Henry Nixon Ogwal. I work for ActionAid Uganda. There's a very serious contradiction listening to
1 minute, my brother, so that
listening to leaders from South Sudan. Honorable Richard Miller says they are tired of war. Yes. Surely we can hear that, but evidence shows differently. My sister has just said the statistics shows that about 80% of those who have come into Uganda are children and women. And we are being told that men, and especially young ones, are not being allowed to leave the country for a possible deeper fight. This is very terrible. And if that is true, and we respect your voices here, Ateny Wek says that if we want to help you, we should ask you what the problem is. Tell us exactly what needs to be done for you people to reconcile with the older generation of the wounds you have caused to yourselves, and then don't close us out. Say it where we are, we listen, and we moderate in the healing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll pick Professor Shemeza, is last there, and then you and come here and finish. Actually, then we'll answer and then we'll go, because our time is almost up. Very quickly, Professor Shemeza, 1 minute.
Just my comment to return the discussion to the theme, the cost of the armed conflict. Recent studies have estimated over 300 billion since 1990. Africa has lost that. And we see the arms used in this, and that cost does not involve spending like the government spending on the military, no, but the actual fighting. And we see the arms we use are imported from outside. So we need to attack the issue of entry of arms. Yet our rules as nations and regions are very weak because the transfer of arms and the sales is globalized.
So my view is that we need to have a concerted effort to restrict the entry of arms, especially into the hands of those who don't respect the armed conflict rules. And finally, I'm for imposition of sanctions to those individuals, whether they're in government or outside. Travel bans for those who are not in the interest of peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mshemeza. We take your point seriously. Gentleman, my brother from UPC.
This is just a question to the spokesperson of President Kiir. I am sure there are no factories that manufacture guns in South Sudan. How much does Southern Sudan earn from the proceeds of the guns that are used in fighting in Sudan? Do you benefit from the proceeds? Have you bothered to take the interest of the person producing guns, whether he would at any time wish you to settle in for peace or rather to have the guns being sold?
Thank you very much.
Second question to Honorable. Do you believe that eliminating
Honorable who?
Honorable Muller, Richard Muller, do you think the strategy of eliminating the late Garang has helped South Sudan to today? Do you also believe that eliminating Riek Machar vis-a-vis collaboration would actually bring the component of peace in South Sudan, especially as a lawyer? And lastly, do you believe that the agreement which was signed with Machar, leaving him outside, would not cause issue by introducing in Taban, who was not a principal in the initial agreement which was signed? Do you believe that that is in itself not a cause of war? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just still again to advise ourselves, because this is a qualified privilege. So there are certain words we may not need to use that actually take us. We want to move forward. We see this largely as a problem-solving workshop. In conflict resolution, it is used to diagnose and propose a way forward. So we desist from using those words that bring pain again and move people backward. We want to move forward. Yes, my brother from South Sudan, and introduce yourself. I know you see. It is behind you. You have 1 minute, my brother.
Yeah, my name is David Amor. David Amor. I am from the Embassy of the Republic of South Sudan in Kampala, Uganda. Thank you very much for the podium and the discussion that has been going on about South Sudan. All of us were yearning on how to talk in a great number, like the way we are seated in the hall here. There is no anybody in South Sudan who wanted what had happened and what should be happened, should it had to be a bad thing for all of us. That is what you should put in mind. And if there are those prophets of doom who would wish us in this hall that there should be any more to happen, it will not happen anymore.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Brigadier General.
And your meeting was hosted by oppositions.
I just want to say thank you very much, Dr. Arthur, for having invited us.
Can we have order, please?
Can we have one voice, please?
Can we have one voice, please? One voice at a time. Yes, General.
My name is Elijah Tut. I'm from the SPLM IO inside the government. Because you may say also the IO is also outside the government. Where is it? Because most of these questions now are actually for us. Why do we have to accept moving on when our chairman is not there? In fact, I wanted actually to relay to the statement made by Honorable Uriam. It is actually a very disappointing situation, not only to us as South Sudanese, It is also as well to you as regional countries who have actually an impact of what happened in South Sudan. It is very disappointing to see my fellow South Sudanese actually running out, because the agreement that we signed in August 2015 was actually to help them. It is actually recalling their pride, their suffering, whether by starvation, whether by economic situation, whether because of this fighting. So the objective of the liberation was not about for us to kill ourselves. And that is one of the reasons we accept what whether it is the agreement fulfill all our aspiration or not. The agreement was to silence the guns. The agreement, when we signed it in Addis Ababa at the IO, we first we were looking for the pride of our people in South Sudan, not our leadership, by the way. And we were not fighting just because of the leadership. We were fighting to return the country back to its normality, because anything happens, we sit again and return it back. December 2013, in particular, erupted just like what happened in 2 months ago. The leadership, both President Salva and the leadership of the SPLM-IO, was it that peace is very important, not the the leader, not who will be where. The IO, referring to some of these questions, I'm sure Honorable Richard later on will recap your question. But referring, why do we have to accept selection or appointing or nominating General Taban Dengai? We nominated him to save this peace, nothing else. We nominated him for us to move on with the implementation of peace. We have a body there. I think all of us also, we are party to it, because it's a regional body. The GMAC has an institution. Those institutions who will work with them should be all decided to be out of it. Is the region happy? Should the whole IO decided not to participate in the peace? Who will now return us back to the table? Those are the issues that made us very disappointing, because we thought the region will come in, will help us move on. Start with what causes this conflict. The two armies, when we signed it in August 2015, it is just only a confidence building. Has nothing to do with the two armies in one country. We signed it, and then we also committed ourselves to quickly reintegrate the forces, making sure that the forces of South Sudan, this is not the forces of IO or South Sudan, we disengage the forces from the political players. And this is what's supposed to continue. When General Saban said, let us quickly resolve this issue of the army, it is just for them to release their hands. Whether it is the leadership of the SPLM-IG or the leadership of the SPLM-IO, if they release their hand, and then the army is a professional army that is, mandated by the Constitution, then the politics will play its role. We don't have a problem of who wants to be where, but who want to use the army is what gave us that focus. So I think I had wanted to talk a lot, but I think General Victor will add something on it. Just only on that question, we were there to save this peace. The little it is, we build on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brigadier General Tut. I allowed him more time so he can shed more light. He has been part and parcel of the peace agreement, and his argument is they wanted to save the peace. And I think what they need now is not condemnation, but actually to support them move forward without, of course, excluding Dr. Yak. Let me, 1 minute from Mr. David Otim, Honorable David Otim, Member of Parliament.
Thank you very much, the participants and protocol observed. I'm very happy with the help that the government of Uganda, the people of Uganda have continued to offer to the people of South Sudan. You have stood with us. Many people have mistaken Uganda why they have been intervening in South Sudan. When we were fighting for the independence of South Sudan, the only country in the region that came out openly to condemn the Arab chauvinism against the people of South Sudan and gave the ground free passage and concealment, and even offered their personnel, their men, to help in the liberation of the people of South Sudan. We will continue to thank you. Don't give up on South Sudan. For me, I'm going to comment on the SPLM-IO. You see, when we signed this peace agreement, we tried it in the trenches. Those who have been fighting the guerrilla warfare, they know the trenches very well. We got the effect very clearly. We knew it is not going to take us anywhere. That is why we signed the compromise peace agreement. We knew this compromise peace agreement is the best way to harmonize, to unify the country, regardless of the difficulties, the challenges we are going to have ahead. But when we were in Pagako, I was the member of the National Liberation Council. We knew the challenges. We preempted some of these challenges. We said that looking at the personality of Dr. Yak, should we really surrender this? How is he going really to work with President Salva Kiir? Because we came from a very deeper conflict. So why we explored. He was a part of the negotiating team. Dr. Richard Kemula was a part of the negotiating team. We thought we should really get somebody to be the first vice president, so that we should not have an obstacle really. But I think people, some key groups around really shot the agenda down that no, Riek Machar should go, should be. But looking at the personality of Dr. Riek Machar is somebody whom I know, he worked for the liberation of South Sudan. There's no doubt about that. But his political ambitions, power, it is so strong. You get the point? Very strong. And that was the real worry we had. That was the real worry we had. That was the real worry. Now, on the dashboard, when Dr. Riek was in Juba, we gave him the driving seat. On his dashboard, power was so strong. The peace agreement was under. Anything that is going to challenge that power, it is just like questioning the Supreme Court of Appeal. That's what led us to all these problems. There was difficulties between them, the chemistry, to build the chemistry. And this is the biggest problem of the people of South Sudan. Many leaders, they put the issue of the power. We is people of South Sudan, we don't have power. We don't have power really. We want to build power in order to be relevant. There is no power. If I see people talking too much power, we have not built the power. And many people must understand the South Sudanese. We were not blessed with very good colonialists like you people in Uganda that developed your civil service, the police. You inherited an institutions. Let me finish up. Diplomat.
Give him a chance.
Let me finish.
1 minute, David. David, finish.
Yeah, I'm finishing up.
Yes.
I'm finishing up.
Yeah.
So what is happening right now? Comrade Taban Dengai, I was in the State House the day before yesterday. I saw a very good atmosphere between the two. Very good atmosphere. And for us in the SPLM-IO right now, we are exploring decision to contact Dr. Riek Machar. Is a leader of South Sudan. We want to, he must support Taban Dengai so that we implement a peace agreement. He will continue to be the leader of SPLM-IO. Come 2018, he will still contest because we have proved that he's not a good cook. He's not good in the kitchen right now. It is a delicate process. You see, and according to, let me give you a bit of comment yesterday when I was sharing with my colleague. You know, I come from Agoro, a place in South Sudan. I had a great-grandfather of mine who is called Burunjolo Liamoy. He was the head of the team. Whenever we go to Dua, in a place called Botolo, whenever you kill the antelope, in Uganda here you could arrest somebody. You know antelope is very important here. The first first animal that you kill belongs to him because he's the one team. So for me, I'm not going to talk. So for Salva Kiir, already his was already secured. So for us who are in SPLM, we need to be very careful. You need to negotiate the corner so well. It is a sacrifice. Professor Mushemeza, when I was at Mekere, taught me two things. Two ways how you defeat a gorilla. One is through military confrontation. Two is through signing peace agreement. So when you read, he taught me strategic intelligence. So you must be very careful when you sign the peace agreement because there's a lot of contradiction inside it. So I think let us appreciate the South Sudan will go ahead. Let us support, let us rally behind the two principles in order to implement the peace agreement. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy team, for being brutally honest. No exclusion of Dr. Yak, but now they have a leader. Then, of course, after the period, there will be elections and anyone can contest. Just before I bring it here, just 1 minute. I think we see there is a need for reconciliation in South Sudan. Deep need for national reconciliation because of the hearts, they have gone deep. Secondly, political inclusion. No one should be left behind because it will cause problem. But also, just because this is a problem-solving workshop.
Turning on your world.
You can now become an exclusive MTV reporter on the go. With the NTV Go mobile app, you can create news by capturing and sharing content instantly. Simply download the NTV Go app on Google Play Store. Go to the N Reporter feature and start reporting as the news happens. We will air your story on a special TV program. NTV Go also allows you to watch news, instant live updates, and follow your favorite show from the comfort of your home, taxi, or your favorite kafunda. Download NTV Go app now from Play Store.
From the land of the rising sun, 100 determined athletes have accepted the challenge to become
I will be.
I'm gonna be the first
Ninja Warrior. Divided into 4 extreme stages, competitors face the ultimate test of strength